Hey everyone, this is Mr. Everything, and I wanted to do, I guess, like a desk tour, kind of like just a setup tour of what I'm working with as far as computer and desk and everything. I know it kind of depends who you are, whether the people care to watch these videos, but I figured I'd try. And what I'm going to call this is my welfare desk tour or my welfare desk setup. And the reason being is I believe what I'm doing here is what someone on welfare, no kidding, I'm being serious, what someone on welfare could afford. Maybe not all at once, but it's definitely something that you can aspire to. Now, in the title and the tags, I'm not going to call it that because I'll probably trigger people before they even click on the video. But just for all intents and purposes, that's the new thing now. It's going to be a welfare desk tour. And let's start. And now, with more people probably having to work from home, maybe desk tours will be more popular. And people probably will want to be more budget oriented because you don't probably want to spend a lot of money just to do something that might be temporary, or just don't want to waste money on something like this. So currently what I'm working with here is a 2012 Mac Mini. I've done several videos on it. It's really a great computer for what it is, especially if you can get a good deal on it. Thinking about getting a 2018, but I just don't like that I'd have to use an external drive. Do I like how this one you could put a second drive, so I have a storage drive in the second caddy inside of it. Prior to that, I was just using a cheap old laptop laying there connected to an older Samsung monitor. And I'm not working with that much space, so it's kind of crowded, but I try and keep it neat. So it's kind of like messy, but organized messy. And I got this monitor last year. It's a Samsung, I think it's a CJG5, or I'll put a card in. It's a gaming monitor. It didn't have to be, but I wanted a 27-inch monitor that was 1440p. I was upgrading from a 24-inch 1080p Samsung, and I wanted it to be curved like the last one. So that was basically all they have, are gaming monitors that fit all those criteria. And you can see the curve. And I'm just working with, I'm not sure if that was the original Magic Keyboard, but it's the one that uses the AA batteries. I actually prefer this style. I think there's a little bit more rake or angle on the keyboard, and I've had the batteries in it for a year, and I get the warning that they're low, but they're still going, although I don't use the keyboard like crazy. But it's Bluetooth, works fine. Beneath that, I have a Surface Pro 3. I picked it up a few years ago when I still had that old laptop because I wanted something newer. It has the i5 that's solid state, so it was much faster. And these days I don't use it as much. I might add a little piece in just so you can see how it looks, but I don't really use it anymore, but it is nice still to have a Windows device in case I need it, or something a little more portable than the Mac. And there it is. Personally, I would probably recommend the Pro 4 or the Pro 5 now because you can get a really good deal. I bought this about 3 years ago, so this at the time was the good deal. It has horrible battery life, like maybe 3 hours on a charge, but usually I just have it hooked up. Usually don't need it that much anymore, but it's still enough that if I would need to have a portable Windows machine and not an iPad or something, it still gets the job done. So definitely still glad to keep it in my rotation. As far as a gaming mouse pad goes, currently I'm using this Reflex Lab. It's just the way I sit. The glorious Q Bobby Roode's theme song, and I'm also using the glorious wrist pad. This is what I was using. It's great quality. I've had this for like at least 4, maybe 5 years now. But this one's longer, and it's also thicker. I put that stuff underneath so it doesn't slide. But this is much thicker than this one. It doesn't really matter, but it is nicer. And it's very comfortable. And just the way I'm sitting, because this is, I think, what you call an artist desk or something. So you can only sit right here, and then you have the shelving built in here. And I'll get to the desk itself in a minute if you're still watching, which you probably aren't. So I needed something that would reach a little because I'm more over on this side. And speaking of the mouse, this is the Logitech MX Master 2. I just got this last year. I'm really happy with it. I always wanted one, and I bought it used, got a good deal on the warehouse deals on Amazon. It's quite the improvement over this, which I've been using almost 10 years now. So at first was actually hurting my hand. Like I have slightly carpal tunnel that comes and goes. And I thought, man, this is horrible. And you would think that would be the exact opposite, and this would be the one because you're all cramped on it. But after like a couple days, I got used to it, and now this is really as good as they all say it is. The tracking's great, plenty of buttons on it, and really it just looks nice too, which is definitely something you can't complain about. As far as the speakers go, I forgot what these are called, but literally just type in Logitech speakers or Logitech computer speakers, Logitech gaming. They're so recognizable because of those white things. One thing I hate is there's only drivers in this one. I forgot what they call that, like a residual cone or a echo cone or a resonance cone. Like that was their way, because it looked like there would be 4 speakers, but there's only 2. There's only one in the top, so that's kind of disappointing. But they still sound good. I have the bass turned the whole way down. There was a bass, and they're still way too boomy. They vibrate the whole room, but they're definitely get the job done. Now my headphone port broke, so it doesn't make good connection, so I had to use a Y splitter and add a separate 3.5 millimeter jack to go into the computer that way. But these days I just use Bluetooth anyway, and I've had these speakers for about 5 years. They're very affordable if they still sell them, and they're decent, and they're holding up nicely, so you can't complain. And again, you can see there's just a lot of extras here because this is just where I put all my necessities and the multi-tool I carry with me every day, box cutters for whatever job you have that you need that, flashlights take with me sometimes, wallet, stuff like that. I just keep it all, because I'm not working with a lot of space. I like to keep everything in one room, just keep it all in the man cave, we'll call it. And for a phone stand, I'm just using this. I added some little pads to it. I bought that years ago. I've had actual proprietary phone stands, but I just went back to this. I believe it's a Walmart business card stand, but you could also use it as a phone stand. You can use it the other way. I flipped it because it works better this way. And a candle, because I live in an apartment and we have people that don't bathe, so that's nice to have. And one thing you might notice is how I'm using some of my pens and pencils on a distributor cap. I remember like over 20 years ago when I was a little kid, my grandpa, I think he was saying something like he had it in his basement, and I don't know if he used it for that or he would just saying, one day you have your own desk or something, you can use it to put your pencils in. And many years later, probably like a few years ago, I found it when we were clearing out their house, and that's why I repurposed it. And this one's for a 6-cylinder. I guess if you had an 8-cylinder, I could put a few more pencils in it or whatever, but those are just my go-to ones. I have some more back there. Those are old flash drives from when I was in school. Obviously, they don't get used anymore. They're too small. These are my upgraded scissors. They're Westcotts. I got them at Walmart. They're the best scissors I've ever had. So they're strong. They cut sharp. Then they have like that nice non-stick coating. This is an Olight flashlight. I usually take it with me. I have a little mag light on my multi-tool that I always have with me, but a lot of times I take this with me. This is much better. Zippo lighter that I never use. And just some odds and ends. Now, I think this is actually the most expensive part. Now, obviously everything together costs more, but the most expensive was this Secret Lab chair. I just got this last year. It's worth it though, because when you go through a couple of $100 chairs and they fall apart, and you got to spend a bunch of money on like cushions and arm rests and stuff, this is well worth it. And I've done a review on it. It's plenty big for me. This is the Titan model if I didn't specify. I keep a little cooler in here to have some water so I don't have to go out to the fridge every time, especially in the middle of the night or something. And that's just a leftover hard drive from 2 terabyte from my Xbox. I upgraded to 4, and beneath it was just a hard drive enclosure. And when I upgraded the solid state in this, I put the old solid state in that, so I have a solid state to use now for transfers, which is nice. Just a little leather book, some notes. I bought it and never used it, but it's still nice if I ever need it. And then down here, just basically some office stuff, nothing really important. Some tape, some liquid gold, slippers in the winter. This one has a bar going across it, and I put like a pool noodle so I can rest my feet on it because I don't have space to put a footrest down here. And that's actually pretty comfortable and it works out nicely. So you cut a slice in it so you can fit it over the pole. I think what came to me, this is called a drafting desk. And I've had this since I was like 5 years old, and I repurposed it as just a little office space desk now. And what I wanted to get to is, back in my younger days, I would sit on this desk with my PSP on some boxes right there, connected to the neighbor's Wi-Fi before I had it, doing things that I should not do, that I'm very ashamed of and will never do again. And I would sit here, so it held up. This is solid. I'm not sure if it's what the wood is or how good it is, but it's solid. And I wanted to get a larger desk, and the IKEA ones, I think they're like hollow. I think they're literally hollow particle board with like some almost like cardboard in the middle, and you always see that they're sagged or that a piece breaks off. You'd never be able to sit on them. So even though this desk is tiny and you have to deal with only having this much leg room, I guess you could build your own, but it's just not worth it. So that's what I use. I have no clue what brand it is. I think being a drafting desk, I think you can loosen something and bring it up, but I'm obviously not doing that. But just for this nice solid top, that's why I'm still using it. Would be nicer to have something that would come out a little further, but I can't do anything about that. And then I have my Epson printer over there, which I could probably spend an hour talking about my printer troubles. I had a Lexmark all-in-one that was about twice the size. It was hard to get ink for it, so I got that thinking ink would be cheap and easy. But I guess if you used it every day, maybe your cartridges would work. But I usually print something once every 2-3 months, and they're always dried. You have to do several printer head cleanings, and then by the time you're done with, like, half the ink's gone. So hate printing. And then my guitar, I have 3, but I don't talk about them because I'm not good enough to talk about guitars like I'm some guitar person when I'm not. And just some of my knickknacks to cover up the ugly, cracking, hot and cold seasonal walls that are just falling apart. I kind of like to get rid of the Hot Wheels. I put those up like over 5 years ago, so I was a bit younger. I'd like something a little nicer, but I don't know, it's not a big deal either. I kind of like to come home and just be reminded of my childhood and not the cold, sanitized world outside. That's the clock. I love the Sterling & Noble. I bought it at Walmart. I love the way it looks, but it is so terrible. It's not even quartz. It loses time. The battery sometimes gets loose and then it quits working. One thing I have to say is I'm very jealous of TGV from the Urban Gentry. Every time he does like a war room tour or just like a house tour, he always shows these like nice quartz battery powered clocks that he gets on eBay. And I'm thinking, well, man, I mean, you just spent $800. He's like, oh yeah, I got it for $20. I was like, I wish I could find something that nice for $20 to replace this piece of crap. And then just my antenna setup. And then this lamp I use at nighttime. Sometimes if I just want a little bit of light and bounce it off the ceiling. And this one I usually don't use. That's when I'm making a video or recording or doing something here. I can have a little more direct light with a nice strong LED bulb. And that's really about all there is. So I mean, certainly not the greatest, but when you add up all the prices, especially when you buy used, that was under $400. That was about a little under $300. Big money on that. Repurposed an old drafting desk. Used keyboard I got for $20, perfect shape. Surface have as a backup. Expensive mouse, but if you don't buy everything at once, I mean, you're under $1,000 altogether anyway. It's well worth it. It's great to have it there when I need it, even though these days you can pretty much do everything you need to a degree, on a phone or iPad. You can see some of my sim racing setup there, packed away. So hopefully, if for nothing else, you at least found this entertaining. I know desk tours aren't as popular as they used to be, and now everyone does them. They're so oversaturated, but you get that snap balance coming in every month. I think you can definitely get this. It's not flashy, but it's happy for me, and I'm grateful for it. Maybe I should do a gaming tour. This is my gaming spot. I could go on much longer with all my peripherals, the sim racing equipment, handhelds, different controllers I have. I might do some of that at some point. But for now, here's my super budget desk tour setup for 2020. And hopefully you enjoyed it or found it interesting or learned something or options you can do for your own. So thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next one. Have a good one.